Good morning, viewers of Iran International. It's 8 a.m. on Tuesday, 3rd of February 2026 in London, and you're with me, Tamina Rostam. Welcome. At the same time as the publication of a list of names titled Those Who Were Killed by the Islamic Republic during the Iranian National Revolution, Pezeshkian's government officials, in their shameful attempt at belittling the extent of the greatest street killing in the contemporary history of Iran, have tried to discredit the statistics presented by Iran International. The editorial council at Iran International, in their third statement with this regard, have announced that presently they are in possession of more than 6,000 names, which can't be found in the list presented by the government. Iran International, since issuing the call for sending documentation on those eternally remembered in the National Revolution until now, have received information on the death of 6,634 people, which does not correspond to the Pezeshkian government's figure of 2,986. Out of the collection of this information until now, the details of 1,141 people have been published on the Iran International's Facts Registry page, and it continues on an uninterrupted and regular basis. The other point is that the combination of the official national figures with those of Iran International's until now come to about 9,000 people, which is still short of the more realistic figure of nearly 27,000 people. Also, the government media, in a distorted narrative, have pointed out to the killing of a large number of security forces during the disturbances. Some officials have spoken of the death of over 200 government agents, but the list published by the government has made no reference to the name or number of those killed. In another section, the government has claimed that 690 of those killed were agitators or terrorists, but in their published list they have not provided any evidence for this claim and have not made a distinction between the names and the identity of any of these individuals. My colleague Kamran Behrang is joining me from our Washington studio. Kamran, it's been confirmed in the announcement made by the Iran International Editorial Council that we have 6,000 names of those eternally remembered individuals, which don't appear in the list published by Pezeshkian's government. Please tell us about the difference between these two lists. Yes, you see, what's been published in the announcement made by the Iran International's Editorial Council emphasizes that we've been able to fact-check the names of 6,634 eternally remembered individuals from the Iranian National Revolution until now. This came a while after the second announcement of the Iran International's Editorial Council. Quoting from the security organization of the IRGC, addressing the National Security Council, where they've identified 36,500 people who have been killed during the revolution, there is a difference here. We've so far been able to fact-check the names of those 36,500 people and their details. Out of this, we have published the names of 1,141 of them on our website. Gradually, we'll be adding to these names. I must also add, since we issued the call for the collection of these names, on average, 300 names are added daily to our database. All these names should be gradually fact-checked, cross-checked, and after the confirmation of each one, they'll be published on our website. Considering the extent of the killings that have happened, this process isn't 1 or 2 days or 1 or 2 weeks' work, and many months should be allocated to it. I wanted to specify, we are confirming the figure which was given in the third announcement. We are emphasizing that we have confirmed the names of 6,634 people. This isn't in contradiction to anything we have said or are saying now. It's the announcements of the Islamic Republic's National Security Council and Pezeshkian's government, whose figures completely contradict each other. The National Security Council, in their first statement, have said that 3,117 people have been killed, whereas Pezeshkian's government has published the names of 2,976 people. Never mind that they claim that there have been some who haven't been identified. But those figures don't match each other, and they still haven't been able to specify why the names of nearly 20 people with similar national codes and similar names have been repeated. When Hamid Rasai, Member of Parliament, comes and says 690 of those who were protesting were killed by the government and the rest were, according to him, martyred, and conflicting statistics, so let's go and have a look at them. Between the 21st and the 24th of January, 3 official reports have been published. Secretly, the Islamic Parliament and the National Security Commission have one set of figures. The Ministry of State has a different set of aggregated data. The IRGC and their security service, within 2 days, present 2 different sets of data. The Islamic Republic itself is shocked because of the high volume of killings it's carried out. In order to cover it up, it's fabricating data. But what the Iran International is doing, may I repeat, is accurate fact-checking. This is through conversations with families, investigative journalists, local investigations, and using several different sources in order to avoid any mistakes when publishing the names on our website. In order to legitimize the litigation for those Iranians who were killed during the national revolution. In what circumstances is being done? The internet is still severely restricted. They have created an atmosphere of fear in which families wouldn't want to speak about their loved ones. And above all, a great part of the data that we're obtaining are from larger cities. In smaller towns and areas, people's access to the internet is much more limited, and this possibility doesn't exist for them. However, I'm inviting all those who have any form of information regarding any of those killed to get in touch with Iran International. The QR code we've provided for you is a safe way of sending your information to us. All of this information will gradually be fact-checked, and the name of each and every eternally remembered individual will eventually be published on our website. This process is going to take many months, but its importance is not going to be forgotten. Thank you, Kamyan Behrang, from our Washington studio. The Australian Foreign Ministry has announced have placed 20 individuals and 3 institutions on their sanctions list. According to the statement by the Ministry, includes senior officials and IRGC institutions who had played a role in the suppression of Iranian people, the violent suppression of the demonstrations, and threatening of human life inside and outside of Iran. Esmail Khatib, the Minister of Information for the Islamic Republic, Ahmad Reza Radan, the Chief of Security Forces for the Republic, Majid Mousavi, Head of the IRGC Air Force, Jawad Ghaffar Haddadi, the Head of Special Operations for the IRGC, Mohammad Reza Fallah, the Deputy Commander of the IRGC, Sayyid Yahya Hosseini Panjaki, aka Sayyid Yahya Hamidi, Assistant Director of the Islamic Republic's Internal Security of the Information Ministry. And also the Australian government has imposed sanctions on a number of provincial leaders of the IRGC, as well as members of Ali Khamenei's office. According to a statement by the Australian Foreign Ministry, IRGC's Command Centre for Cybersecurity, the Unit 840 of the force, and also the IRGC's information organisation have been put on the sanction list. We are now going to Washington to speak to Mr. Mohammad Ghaedi, lecturer in international relations at the George Washington University. Mr. Ghaedi, let's start with the contradictory messages from the leadership of the Islamic Republic. We are receiving a bunch of these messages. For readiness to suspend the nuclear program, an even transfer of uranium in unofficial reports, to a quick denial of the exit of the uranium, and military threats from official positions in Tehran. Shall we look at this duality as a haggling tactic at the beginning of the negotiations, or is this a sign of true division in the decision-making strata of the Islamic Republic? Greetings to you and your audience. I don't think this is a sign of division in the decision-making strata of the Islamic Republic. The decision-making environment is very limited and single-voiced there. Khamenei makes his decisions. The Supreme National Security Council tries to implement these decisions, to design tactics for them, create a division of labor, and in the end, whatever the Council has a resolution for still needs the approval of Ali Khamenei. I think some of those different noises that you said are a part of their negotiating tactics. They're trying to keep the negotiation door open. The more flexible voices tend to come from unofficial channels. There is a more important issue here as well. Islamic Republic officials always check who their audience is. For example, when Ali Shamkhani, former secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, when he speaks to Al-Mayadeen, a network close to the Lebanese Hezbollah, which is a part of the so-called Axis of Resistance, he uses a strong tone, saying Iran is prepared to reduce the uranium enrichment to 20%, while when the government officials previously had negotiations with the Americans, they had accepted a reduction of 3%, even lower than the JCPOA. Or he makes other speeches when he shows that his audience is the Lebanese Hezbollah. But when the message is hidden and is sent to Kremlin by Ali Larijani, there they show greater flexibility, and they say that Iran is prepared to transfer the enriched uranium to Russia. Because Khamenei, after imposing all these expenses on the country, the 12-day war, economic losses and severe sanctions, he can't say to his followers that we're going to keep this enriched uranium and show flexibility. So the audience varies. Or as another example, Foreign Minister Araghchi the other day had an exclusive interview with CNN. He refers to President Trump as the wise president of America. Or he praises President Trump as says, after the agreement, American companies come to Iran and make investments. While this is the same Trump who's attacked the Iranian nuclear installations. And worse than that, from the Islamic Republic's point of view, he's previously made an attempt on the life of Qasem Soleimani. And of course, previously they wouldn't talk about him like that. But when the audience is CNN and the American public, Araghchi does speak this way, but makes no mention of Khamenei after the JCPOA accord made so many threats about preventing the presence of American companies. Therefore, both as a negotiation tactic and considering the type of audience, messages from Islamic Republic officials can be subject to change and adjustment. Mr. Ghaidi, there is contradiction from the other side too. Washington has kept the negotiation door open, but the Defense Secretary is talking about unprecedented military preparations. Figures like Lindsey Graham are talking about an end to deal-making policies. What scenarios are these mixed messages suggesting? In your opinion, is there a possibility of limited agreement or hard confrontation? Let me point something out before I answer this question. 4 days before Israel attacked Iran, Mr. Trump, in the conversations he had with his cabinet, he transmitted some very positive messages to the Islamic Republic, unofficially, and he said Iranians work really hard at negotiating and are quite tough negotiators. And 4 days later, Israel attacked Iran. What I want to say is that American officials and Mr. Trump himself occasionally mislead or disinform to hide its goals, and in giving different messages, and use a shock tactic in military operations. But I think if Mr. Trump really wanted to reach a limited agreement, this agreement is right now ready for signing by the Islamic Republic. So if he was sufficed with a small win, he could achieve that right now. What he has put on the table are very wide-ranging and difficult issues. And as time goes by, he keeps making them harder. For example, on top of his 4 conditions, he's also asked for Khamenei to step down, and other similar things, which makes me think that his intention is not to make a limited agreement, but the issue is going to be a lot wider. Thank you, Mr. Ghaedi, lecturer in international relations at George Washington University. The Toronto police, by publishing a video on their X account, confirmed that 150,000 people took part in a protest gathering of Iranians on the 2nd of February in the center of the city. This gathering was a continuation of similar events which have been happening during many previous weeks, in solidarity with the Iranian national uprising, and with the aim of directing global attention to the suppression and extensive killings in Iran, and turned Toronto into one of the most significant scenes of this collective solidarity. According to official Toronto police reports, this gathering was completely safe and peaceful, and no security issues were reported during the event. While the National Iranian Revolution has entered its 6th week, Iranians living abroad, in solidarity with Iranians living in Iran, have taken to the streets in 20 countries and at least 60 cities around the world. We mentioned about Toronto, but also in Los Angeles, around 60,000 people made their presence known in the streets. Let's watch a report with this regard. At least 760 lives were taken every hour by the Islamic Republic under the direct order of Ali Khamenei. More than 36,500 dead. It only took 2 days for the Islamic Republic to show that the greatest threat to Iranian lives wasn't external war, but the internal government. Iranians living abroad, now in the 6th week of the Iranian national uprising, are still coming out into the streets in solidarity with the people inside Iran. Over 22 countries and at least 60 cities around the world have witnessed extensive demonstrations by Iranian people. The presence of 100,000 people in Toronto. Europe was submitted to the will of Iranians. The IRGC has been put on the European Union's list of terrorist organizations. Now, Iranians have the same request from Britain. Unity between Iranians inside and outside of the country is not just a wish, but a reality. Iranians outside the country have now turned into a diplomatic weight.